on the 14th of the 4th month of 1438, what is said about Satan's promise. Untold messengers of the law were said to have been emotionally and even physically abused by regular people and dictators that are supposed to be destined to hell after the destruction they and their bodies faced in this world. After the parable of the ashes in the windstorm, and is the prophesied interaction between other spiritual leaders and followers on the day of judgment. Why shouldn't people who face punishments be treated the same for doing the same? One reads elsewhere that many of the prophets of God were killed, and their movement all but was eliminated in their lifetime. Most of the Israelite prophets had almost no information survive, and there may be 17 or so more than the 83 mentioned in their ancient writing. Writings that left no name. One even finds out that Muhammad ibn Abdullah was poisoned by meat sent from Khaybar within a year of his death, and died slow because he realized something was wrong after he started, and the poison had damaged him. Just like a lot of drug addicts quit and then they die from it anyways. Of course, they probably would have died quicker. A lack of being able to be victimized or killed is often the test that appears against claims of spiritual truth. There are certainly some claims associated with spiritual movements that should be doubted or denied on purely materialistic bases. But what are they? What is the case with the prophesied and scattered remnants? Then comes to the prophecy that Satan will admit to his broken promise, and God's promise of truth and reality, denial of authority to make us do something, and renunciation of being a co-worker of God in Al-Quran 14:22. Whether out of theistic Satanism, or even the thoughts, words, and deeds contrary to God's way, are not forced in the way that it taught that God sometimes forced. People aren't allowed to force belief or whatever. Can you identify Satan's call? How will you answer? This was predicting the future. What do you think will happen? If a shaitan is going to fail in his promise, why would that be? After that is mention of belief being followed up by deeds, until in the garden with peace in it, and the parables of the words and trees, good and evil. Some scriptures will mention punishments in this life and hell realms by itself. But the Quran always seems to have mentioned a paradise and or how to end up with torment hereafter linked to it, particularly with some knowledge of Kabbalah and more ancient teaching-based systems upon a symbol of a tree. I think of them as metaphysical vehicles for life or mystic journeys. And, the tree of life and the tree of death, and in Kabbalah, both have the light tree and the dark tree, and there's the demon tree and the angel tree and the human tree and the God tree, and a lot of trees. And there's the ninefold tree in Norse mythology. But there's something to be said about Magian culture, the ever more sects, and trying to do away with groups and founding new groups, and in anticipation for something they don't even know, or they don't understand. It's been fragmented. Islam has provided a different answer, is that trying to bring it together and say, hey, this has stayed, the last prophet you've been waiting for has came. So unity instead of sectarian dispersion, and lack of knowledge, and pursuing knowledge instead of waiting.